In the dense wilderness of Blackwood National Forest, Oregon, a solo camper named Ethan Carter set out for a weekend of solitude. He was an experienced survivalist, well prepared for the deep woods. But on the third night, something happened that no one could explain. Ethan's last recorded communication was a message to his friend saying, "I keep hearing whispers outside my tent, but there's no one here." The next morning, when rangers arrived at his campsite after his family reported him missing, they found the tent zipped shut from the inside. Yet there was no sign of Ethan. His backpack, supplies, and even his boots were still inside the tent. The only thing missing was Ethan himself. Strangely, a single trail of footprints was discovered leading into the deeper part of the forest. They stopped abruptly in an open clearing, as if he had been lifted straight into the air. No animal tracks, no signs of struggle, just an eerie silence. To this day, no trace of Ethan has ever been found. Locals now say that if you camp in Blackwood Forest, you might hear whispers in the wind calling your name. In Montana's remote Devil's Ridge, a group of hikers, Mark, Julie, and Sam, decided to explore an old abandoned fire lookout station rumored to be haunted. The station was built in the 1950s but was abandoned after a park ranger mysteriously disappeared while on duty. As night fell, the group set up camp near the station. Around midnight, they heard heavy footsteps circling their tent. Sam, the bravest of the three, peeked outside, but saw nothing. Yet the footsteps continued, closer this time. Mark took out his flashlight and scanned the area. That's when they saw it. Atop the old fire lookout, a figure stood completely still. It was tall, almost unnaturally tall, with long, spindly limbs and glowing eyes reflecting the flashlight. The figure didn't move. It just watched. Terrified, the hikers grabbed their gear and ran back to their car, but the figure followed them, without making a single sound. Even as they sped away, Julie swore she saw it standing at the tree line, still watching them. Locals claim that the Watcher of Devil's Ridge is the spirit of the lost park ranger. Some say if you climb the old fire tower at night, you might see him standing just behind you in the reflection of the glass. In the vast Alaskan wilderness, a wildlife photographer named Daniel Reeves embarked on a solo expedition to capture footage of the elusive gray wolves. He was miles away from civilization when he stumbled upon something that wasn't on any map, an old wooden cabin. The structure looked ancient, covered in moss and rot, yet there was fresh smoke rising from the chimney. Against his better judgment, Daniel knocked on the door. No answer. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The interior was strangely clean, as if someone had been living there just moments ago. A kettle boiled on the stove, and a single rocking chair moved slowly, as if someone had just left it. Suddenly, Daniel heard a voice behind him whisper, "You weren't supposed to find this place." Terrified, he spun around, but no one was there. The cabin was empty. Panicked, Daniel bolted out and ran for his life. When he reached the location the next morning with a search team, the cabin was gone. There was no sign of it ever existing. Some locals say that in the Alaskan wilds, there are places that don't belong to this world, places that appear only to those who shouldn't have found them. And those who do, never return the same. For years, Ethan Carter's disappearance in Blackwood National Forest remained an unsolved mystery. No body, no evidence, just an empty tent and a set of footprints that vanished into thin air. But then something terrifying happened. In October 2023, a hiker named Ryan Mitchell set up camp in the exact same spot where Ethan had vanished 5 years earlier. Ryan wasn't aware of the history. He had only chosen the site because it was secluded and peaceful. That night, as he lay in his tent, he heard soft whispering. It wasn't the wind, it was words. "Help me, please help me." The voice was faint, desperate. Ryan froze, his heart pounding. He unzipped his tent just enough to peek outside with his flashlight. The beam of light swept across the dark forest. No one was there. Then, just beyond the trees, he saw the figure, a man who shouldn't be there. Standing in the darkness was a man, thin, pale, wearing torn hiking clothes covered in dirt. His eyes were hollow, empty, and his mouth moved as if whispering, but no sound came out. Ryan gripped his flashlight tighter. "Who's there?" he called out. The man tilted his head unnaturally. Then, in a hoarse voice, he whispered, "I don't know how to leave." Ryan's blood ran cold. The voice sounded familiar. He scrambled for his phone and quickly searched the name. Ethan Carter, the missing hiker, the one who had vanished years ago, right here. When Ryan looked up again, the man was